7:52, and we're connecting the dots between artificial intelligence, energy, and what it means for New Jersey's future. Remember, AI needs massive amounts of electricity to run. Texas is at the center of a tech revolution, but its energy grid was never built for the AI era. Data centers powering artificial intelligence now require 20 to 30 times more energy than traditional tech. And the infrastructure just ain't keeping up. And we have in New Jersey an issue because we shut down 6 power plants in the last few years. That's why our energy costs, one of the reasons why they're so high. Joining us this morning is Mikey Lucas, the Frisco-based founder of American Energy Fund, and he's raising the red flag and backing it with bold action, investing in domestic oil, gas, and infrastructure to close the gap and support the next wave of AI growth. Good morning. Thanks for coming on. Do we have his audio, Pam? All right, we're clearing it up. You're where are you physically located? Are you in New Jersey or are you in Texas?
I'm in Texas, Ken.
You're in Texas. So now Texas being the energy hub of America, you folks are intelligent. See, the Democrats of New Jersey are about as dumb as a box of rocks. And I say so with pride because it's like they would take a bucket of fish, throw it away, and then say, geez, where'd the fish go? We shut down 6 major energy plants, 5 of which were fossil, 1 was nuclear, before we could build a green energy plant, and suddenly energy prices surged. It's called supply and demand. It's an old thing. Someday I'll sit down and talk to them about it. And they didn't think that maybe that would impact price. So let's start with Texas. What's happening with the grid down there, and what are you guys doing intelligently to create such an urgent energy challenge?
Ken,
Why is AI creating it, I should say?
Yeah, no, Ken, there's a big problem that we have, and it's not just the energy grid in Texas. There's 3 grids in the United States. You have the West Coast, you have the East Coast, and then you have obviously the grid in Texas, ERCOT. And Texas, as everyone saw back in 2020, 2021, we had the big freeze. And this has been going on for a very long time. The entire United States has a very, very fragile energy grid. And one of the biggest issues is, unfortunately, politics got in the way. And by no means am I saying we should go 100% to fossil fuels, and on the other side, and I'm not saying we should go to 100% renewable as far as solar and wind. I'm in the middle, actually, Ken. I come from the solar side. I used to work for Elon Musk's company, Solar City, which is now Tesla Energy. And so I do believe in renewable energy. And I do want, businesses and residential homes and, things like that to have solar panels to at least somewhat offset the grid. And obviously, the other side of that is I'm from Texas. So that's the oil country of the world, oil capital of the world. But what we're doing in Texas right now is actually producing and opening up permits for more natural gas power plants, as well as they're being very aggressive, Ken, on the nuclear side. And as you know, New Jersey has the majority of their power comes from nuclear. I believe it's roughly 15 to 18% of the power in New Jersey is actually being imported from states like Philadelphia or places like Philadelphia and Texas. We can't do that. We're a closed grid here. So one of the cool parts about Texas is that we're actually having more power coming actually on site, which is in the last couple of years, which is kind of ironic, but over 90% of it actually was solar. One of the hard parts about solar is that, I don't know if you know this or not, Ken, but it doesn't work when the sun's not out. And so you have a problem there. For base load energy, we're putting up more nuclear and more natural gas. We have plenty of natural gas in Texas. We have plenty of natural gas here in the United States. And so natural gas is becoming more of the power source here in Texas.
Mikey, no, and again, I'm also not against multiple energy sources. I'm with you, my friend. The problem is you don't shut down 6 power plants until you build the new ones. That's the problem. And it's not like they're building them on the same. I could see if they were going to shut down a fossil plant, flatten it, and put a green or renewable plant on the same site. I get that. That wasn't the plan. The idea was there was such hatred, vehement hatred for fossil fuels that they shut down the plants before they could even think about, well, what do we replace them with? And the problem with importing it from Philadelphia, from Pennsylvania, is now we're paying them to import the energy. And they have their own energy issues. So this
Yeah.
was a created problem, is my point. It didn't have to happen. And then you have people in this state that they have blinders on. They don't know how to vote any way but the letter D, because just like up in Massachusetts, they've only known one party their entire lives. Nope, I vote Democrat. Then why even bother showing up if you only vote one party? That's the problem in our state. I'm with you. I live half the time in Florida, and you'd think Florida is going to be, well, either all solar or not, because it's a Republican state. You look at the breakdown. Florida is solar. They have some wind, but it's mostly solar and fossil fuels. You know what my power bill for 1,400 square foot place is with air conditioning running all the time down there? $90 a month. Up here,
Yeah.
my place is not that much bigger, and it's about 5 times that cost. I mean, that it's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah.
But yet they keep voting for the same people. So now a lot of this, we talked about this, is data centers, AI, cloud storage. We need this. This is the future, right? So you touched on nuclear. So nuclear used to have a bad name, but now we're talking about new nuclear facilities that run that AI can function, basically, right? AI can run them, and they would be smaller, not these massive facilities like 3 Mile Island years ago. Could you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So the cool part about America is that we are an innovative country, and the hard part about nuclear, you say the name nuclear, right? And we just bombed Iran, and so nuclear is unfortunately back in the news, and it's unfortunately got a bad name in it. Not only that, you have Chernobyl, you have all these other nuclear sites. We can't base the current technology based off of 1950s, 1940s technology. That's like basing, the safety of cars today based off of the, 1940s, cars. It's not as safe, back then. But today, because thank God for American innovation, is we have actually a way now to not just turn nuclear off, but to be able to make it extremely small and significantly more efficient. The hard part is that, and again, President Trump was just in Philadelphia and said he was going to permit a nuclear site within 2 weeks. And the hard part is, in the data center world, in the data center business, nobody believes that nuclear is going to actually be around. They think that there's so much red tape, and there is. And that's the hard part. We need to bring common sense back to America. And it's unfortunate because if we don't do that, my mom, my parents, my friends, my family, and people in New Jersey and even here in Texas are going to suffer, and they already are. You guys have seen your guys' utility bills, and that's what hits home to the voters here in America. Is it's their utility bills that actually make a difference here. And so if we want to bring common sense and wealth and prosperity back to America, we have to have some common sense laws and put people in a room, close the door, and don't let them get out until they say, how can we actually solve this? And unfortunately, we're not going to solve it with solar panels. Now, I do think that people, if you can, and businesses, if they can, put up solar panels. There's tons of programs out there, statewide programs and so on and so forth. Even with the one big beautiful bill, to be able to put up solar and to do that, to offset the cost of their electricity. But with the data center specifically, Ken, is they're now having to switch, and this is very, very new. So you could even say this is breaking news because we're in negotiations with the big five right now. They have to make a decision. There's not enough power on the grid right now. The United States grid is so old and so fragile and costs so much money to maintain, which is why all of these wild infrastructure bills really haven't done very much, unfortunately. There was millions and millions and dollars, billions of dollars invested through one of the infrastructure bills a couple of years ago, and they built, I think it was less than 50 miles of transmission lines. I mean, that's a problem. And so when you put bureaucracy, if you look at the government, it's kind of like going to the DMV at large, and it's a real issue. And so for Americans, we need to stand up and say, if you're going to build a Costco or a Walmart or even now data centers, which are power hungry, hogs, they need to bring power on site, and that's actually what they're doing. They were very against it for a very long time because don't you don't want to fix something that's not broken. Well, it is extremely broken, Ken. And finally, now these AI companies and the data center developers are actually putting power on site, and that's the main thing. When you put up a new Costco, I think they should have the right to have their own line item to be able to provide their own power, whether that's natural gas or SMRs through nuclear or even solar panels if they want. And I'm not a really big fan of wind, to be honest with you. I think they're
Mhm.
cool looking, and they're really cool to see kind of the the blades on the freeway, but they do cause issues on freeways. But I think they're cool.
No.
But as far as financially goes, they're not a great investment, and it's not just a talking point. I'm not some puppet from Donald Trump. No, I actually looked at these and to invest in them because I was like, hey, what do we want? We want a return on our investment. And yeah, if I could snap my finger, Ken, and say, let's have a green tomorrow, I absolutely would do that. I don't think anybody would be against that. I don't. Democrats and Republicans both don't want to live like we're in China, where we have to use a mask, where our air quality is absolutely trash. So we do want
Mike, I got to
green.
I got to pause you only because we're out of time. But just quickly, just remember that the original Tesla, Nikola Tesla, the guy for whom the company is named, he was the one who invented a concept or had a concept for transmitting electric in the air without having a
Yeah.
grid system. And so if it existed 150 years ago, somebody's got to know how to do it today. We do that and we won't have to worry about a grid system, or just do what you're saying. Everybody be part of their own little grid and not have to worry about a nationwide system failing us potentially. We got to have you back on. Mikey, it is a pleasure hearing you, and just an intelligent, middle of the road guy talking about energy with solutions for everybody. Mikey Lucas, Frisco-based founder for the American Energy Fund. Please come back. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ken.